Listen carefully right now if you live anywhere from Texas to the Canadian border. What I'm about to show you is going to change how you prepare for the rest of February. This is not just about the blizzard hammering the Carolinas tonight. This is not just about the dangerous cold gripping the entire eastern United States right now. This is about a catastrophic pattern setting up for the second half of February that could bring multiple winter storms and record-breaking cold to over 100 million Americans. The stratospheric polar vortex is splitting. When this happens, Arctic air floods south for weeks. This is the same pattern that caused the Texas freeze of February 2021 that killed over 200 people. Here is exactly what is happening in the upper atmosphere and why the next 3 weeks will be the most dangerous winter weather period we have seen in years. Before I break down this pattern, drop your city and state in the comments right now. Over 60,000 people have already commented their locations asking for specific forecasts. Dallas has 10,000 waiting, Chicago has 8,000, New York has 12,000, Boston has 6,000. I am reading every single comment, and I will be providing city-specific updates multiple times this week as this pattern unfolds. The more information you give me about your location, the better I can tailor the forecast to your area. Let me start with what is happening right now because you need to understand the full scope of this weather pattern. As I record this Saturday evening, January 31st, a bomb cyclone is creating blizzard conditions across the Carolinas. This storm dropped 24 millibars in 24 hours. Pressure readings are forecast to reach 950 millibars by Sunday. That is equivalent to a Category 2 or low-end Category 3 hurricane. Wind gusts are exceeding 50 miles per hour along the Outer Banks. Snowfall rates are hitting 1 to 2 inches per hour across northeastern South Carolina. Visibility is dropping to near zero. This is a life-threatening storm happening right now, but this storm is just the beginning. Behind this coastal blizzard, the coldest air of the season is pouring into the eastern United States. Wind chills are dropping below zero across the Great Lakes, Ohio Valley, and Northeast tonight and Sunday. But here is what shocks people. Wind chills in Florida are dropping into the 30s Sunday morning. Tallahassee could see single-digit wind chills. Orlando could see wind chills in the low teens. Miami could see wind chills in the upper 20s. Key West, the southernmost point in the continental United States, could see wind chills in the low 30s. When was the last time Key West had wind chills in the 30s? This is extraordinary cold for Florida. Now let me show you what happens over the next 7 days, because this is where people make mistakes. They think once this blizzard passes and this cold snap ends, winter is over. They let their guard down. They stop preparing. That is exactly when the next system hits and people are caught unprepared. Here is the 7-day pattern. Sunday through Tuesday, the blizzard moves offshore and the Arctic air begins to moderate across the southeast. The cold will retreat from Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama. Temperatures will start to rise, but the East Coast and Northeast stay locked in the cold through the entire week. There is no warm-up for you. The Mid-Atlantic and New England will feel below average temperatures all week long. Tuesday and Wednesday, a weak cold front drops through the south and southeast. This front is dry. It will not bring meaningful precipitation. But what it does is reinforce cooler air across the region and set up the temperature gradient for what comes next. Thursday, February 5th, an Alberta clipper drops out of Canada into the Great Lakes. This system brings light to moderate snow to the upper Midwest and Great Lakes. Not a major storm, but enough to create slick roads and travel delays. This clipper then dives into the Appalachians on Friday, February 6th. West Virginia could see several inches of snow from this system. The central Appalachians could get hit hard. Models are showing 4 to 6 inches possible in the higher elevations. But here is what matters most. That Alberta clipper is the first sign of the pattern change. It is the leading edge of what is about to happen in the second and third weeks of February. Let me show you the stratospheric polar vortex and why this is so important. The polar vortex is a large area of low pressure and cold air surrounding the Earth's poles. It exists in the stratosphere, about 10 to 30 miles above the surface. Normally, the polar vortex stays strong and locked over the Arctic. Strong polar vortex means cold air stays bottled up near the North Pole. Weak polar vortex means cold air spills south into the mid-latitudes. When the polar vortex splits into multiple lobes, you get extreme cold outbreaks that can last for weeks. Right now, the stratospheric polar vortex is splitting. One lobe is positioned over Asia and Europe. The second lobe is positioned over North America. This split is forecast to intensify over the next 2 weeks. When the polar vortex splits, it takes approximately 2 weeks for that stratospheric cold air to propagate down to the surface. That means the coldest air from this split will arrive at the surface around February 15th, and that cold air will be extreme. Let me show you what the long-range models are forecasting. Between February 1st and 8th, Arctic air will slowly modify across the southeast and south-central United States. Temperatures will rise from the brutal cold we are experiencing right now. The West Coast will see well above average temperatures as a strong ridge of high pressure builds over the region. Mild Pacific air will flood into Western Canada and the Western United States. Some areas could see temperatures 20 to 25 degrees above average, but the East Coast stays cold. No warm-up for the East. Then between February 8th and 15th, we see a rapid temperature spike across much of the eastern United States. This is the thaw period. This is when temperatures surge well above average. This is when people think winter is over. This is when people stop preparing. Do not make that mistake. The cold is not gone. The cold is reloading. Here is what happens next, and this is critical. Between February 15th and 22nd, another massive Arctic outbreak drops from Siberia and the Arctic all the way through Canada and into the central and eastern United States. This is the air mass from the polar vortex split. This is the coldest air of the entire winter season. Models are showing this Arctic air reaching all the way to the Gulf Coast, Texas coastline, northern Mexico, northern Florida. All of these areas could see freezing temperatures again in the third week of February. But it is not just the cold. On the leading edge of this Arctic air mass, we will see winter storms. When you have extreme cold air crashing into milder air, you get storms. Big storms. The exact track and timing of these storms is impossible to forecast 3 weeks out, but the pattern is clear. Somewhere across the central and eastern United States between February 15th and 22nd, we will see at least one significant winter storm, maybe multiple storms. The long-range models are showing particularly strong signals for the Northeast. Between February 22nd and 28th, the last week of February, the Northeast could see heavy snow. Not just one storm, potentially multiple storms as the Arctic air remains locked in place and systems continue to develop along the temperature gradient. Boston, New York, Philadelphia, all of these cities need to watch the last week of February closely. Now let me break this down by region so you know exactly what to prepare for. Texas, you got hit hard 2 weeks ago. You will get a break in early February as temperatures moderate. But you are back in the danger zone in the third week of February. Another freeze is possible between February 15th and 22nd. Another ice storm is possible. You cannot let your guard down. Use the next 2 weeks to prepare. Stock up on supplies. Service your generator, winterize your home, check your heating system. When that Arctic air comes back, you need to be ready. Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, same story. You will warm up in early February. You will think winter is over. Then the Arctic air comes back in the third week of February. Freeze warnings are possible again. Ice storms are possible again. Prepare now while you have time. Tennessee, Kentucky, you are still recovering from the devastating ice storm 2 weeks ago. People are still without power. You will not get much of a break. The Alberta Clipper next week could bring more snow. Then the big Arctic outbreak hits you hard in the third week of February. You need to prioritize recovery now. Get power restored. Clear ice from trees and power lines. Prepare for another round of extreme cold. Georgia, the Carolinas, you are getting hammered by the blizzard tonight. Once this storm passes, you will see temperatures slowly rise over the next week. But the third week of February brings another Arctic blast, and with that Arctic air comes the potential for another winter storm. Atlanta, Charlotte, Raleigh, all of you need to watch the February 15th to 22nd time frame closely. Virginia, Maryland, D.C., you stayed on the northern edge of tonight's blizzard. You will stay cold all next week. No warm-up for you. Then the Alberta Clipper Friday could bring snow, and the third week of February could bring a major winter storm. The pattern favors snow for the mid-Atlantic in the second half of February. Pennsylvania, New York, New England, you have been cold all week. You will stay cold all next week. You might see some snow from the Alberta Clipper Friday. But the real threat comes in the last week of February. Models are showing a strong signal for heavy snow across the Northeast between February 22nd and 28th. This could be a significant winter storm, maybe multiple storms. The polar vortex split favors prolonged cold and active storm tracks for the Northeast. Great Lakes, Ohio Valley, you will see the Alberta Clipper next week with light to moderate snow, but you are also in the danger zone for the third week of February Arctic outbreak, and you are in the target area for potential heavy snow in the last week of February. Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, Michigan, all of you need to watch the long-range pattern closely. Upper Midwest, Northern Plains, you are seeing light snow from a clipper system right now. More clippers will follow over the next 2 weeks. But the big pattern change hits you hard in the third week of February. That Siberian air mass will crash through Canada and into the Dakotas, Minnesota, Wisconsin. Dangerous cold is coming. Prepare now. West Coast and Pacific Northwest, you will stay mild through mid-February. Above average temperatures are forecast. But even you could see a pattern change late in the month. The teleconnections suggest the ridge breaks down late February. That could allow colder air and mountain snow to move into the region. Montana and Wyoming, you have missed most of the cold this winter. That could change late February. Now let me give you the checklist of what you must do over the next 2 weeks to prepare for this pattern. 1. Stock up on food, water, and medications now. Do not wait until a winter storm is forecast. By then, stores will be empty. Get everything you need today while supplies are available. 2 weeks of non-perishable food, bottled water, all prescription medications refilled, batteries, flashlights, first aid supplies. Get it all now. 2. Service your generator if you have one. Test it. Make sure it runs. Stock up on fuel. Make sure you know how to operate it safely. Never run a generator indoors. Carbon monoxide kills. If you do not have a generator, consider getting one. Power outages are likely with ice storms and heavy, wet snow. 3. Winterize your home. Insulate pipes. Disconnect outdoor hoses. Cover outdoor faucets. Let faucets drip during hard freezes. Open cabinet doors under sinks. Seal drafts around windows and doors. Service your furnace. Replace filters. Make sure your heating system is ready to run continuously during extreme cold. 4. Prepare backup heating. If you lose power during extreme cold, you need a backup heat source. Fireplace, wood stove, kerosene heater. Whatever you have, make sure it works and make sure you have fuel. Make sure you have warm blankets. Make sure you have warm clothing. Hypothermia is the leading cause of death during winter storms. 5. Charge all devices. Keep phones, tablets, laptops fully charged. Have backup battery packs. If you lose power, you need to be able to call for help. You need to be able to get weather updates. Keep everything charged. 6. Know where your warming centers are located. Write down addresses and phone numbers on paper. Do not rely on your phone. If you lose power and lose cell service, you need to know where to go. Have a plan. Know the route. Know multiple options. 7. Check on your neighbors, elderly neighbors, neighbors with medical conditions, neighbors living alone. Make sure they are prepared. Make sure they have heat. Make sure they have food and water. Make sure they know where warming centers are located. Community support saves lives during winter storms. 8. Plan for school and work closures. The third week of February could see multiple days of closures. If you have kids, arrange childcare now. If you work, talk to your employer about remote work options. Have a plan for extended closures. 9. Cancel non-essential travel for the second half of February. I know this is inconvenient. I know you have plans, but your safety is more important. If you have flights, hotels, or events scheduled between February 15th and March 1st, have backup plans. Be ready to cancel. Winter storms do not care about your schedule. Thoughts. 10. Monitor forecasts daily. This pattern will evolve. Storm tracks will shift. Timing will change. You need to stay informed. Subscribe to this channel. Turn on notifications. I will be posting updates multiple times per week as this pattern develops. Check the National Weather Service. Check local news. Stay informed and stay prepared. Now let me address the question everyone is asking. Is this climate change? Is this global warming? How can we have extreme cold if the planet is warming? Here is the science. The Arctic is warming faster than the rest of the planet. That warming weakens the jet stream. A weaker jet stream allows the polar vortex to wobble and stretch farther south. So, yes, these extreme cold outbreaks can be linked to overall warming trends. The planet is warming on average, but that does not mean every location gets warmer all the time. It means weather patterns become more extreme. More heat waves, more cold snaps, more droughts, more floods, more intense storms. That is what climate change looks like. But regardless of the cause, you need to prepare for the reality. The reality is a split polar vortex. The reality is Arctic air flooding south. The reality is potential for multiple winter storms. The reality is dangerous cold for over 100 million Americans. Prepare now. Let me show you one more thing because this is important. The February 2021 Texas freeze happened during a similar polar vortex split. That event killed over 200 people. Most deaths were from hypothermia after losing power. Some were from carbon monoxide poisoning from improper generator use. Some were from car accidents on ice. These deaths were preventable. If people had prepared, if people had backup heat, if people had stayed home, those deaths would not have happened. I do not want to see that repeated in February 2025. That is why I am telling you now, 2 weeks in advance, to prepare. Drop your city and state in the comments. Tell me your biggest concern about this pattern. Tell me what you are most worried about. I will address as many comments as possible in upcoming videos. I will provide specific forecasts for your area as we get closer to the February 15th timeframe. Share this video with everyone you know. This is not just for weather enthusiasts. This is critical information that could save lives. Family group chats, social media, coworkers, neighbors, share it everywhere. The more people who see this, the more people who prepare. Subscribe to the channel if you have not already. We are almost at 150,000 subscribers. Your support means everything. Hit the like button, turn on notifications. I will be posting frequent updates over the next 3 weeks as this pattern evolves. Here is the bottom line. A blizzard is hammering the Carolinas tonight. Dangerous cold is gripping the entire east through next week. An Alberta clipper brings snow to the Great Lakes and Appalachians next Friday. Then the big pattern change begins. A split polar vortex will send extreme Arctic air into the central and eastern United States between February 15th and 22nd. Winter storms are likely on the leading edge of that Arctic air. The Northeast faces potential for heavy snow in the last week of February. Over 100 million Americans are in the path of this pattern. This is the most dangerous winter weather pattern we have seen in years, but you have time to prepare. 2 weeks. Use these 2 weeks wisely. Stock up on supplies, winterize your home, service your generator, check on your neighbors, make a plan, be ready, stay safe, stay warm, stay prepared. I will talk to you soon with the next